Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Renfrew Center Foundation's webinar, Living in Your Body, Creating a Sense of Inner Well-Being. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Erin Byerly, and I am your Alumni Services Coordinator, and I'll be moderating our presentation today. So before I introduce you all to today's presenter, Susan Kleiman, MA, BC, DMT, NCC, CEDSS, I want to go over a few announcements to give others some extra time to join. So we want to let you all know that in January, we will be rebroadcasting my webinar from September, discussing the intersection of eating disorder recovery and grind culture in our larger kind of world culture. As the new year starts off, this can be a great time to kind of remind ourselves not to fall into that overachieving grind culture mentality we might see others embracing. So check out the events page on renfrewcenter.com to register for this upcoming webinar and all the other events and webinars we'll have coming up in the future. We are also still hosting our residential alumni support groups monthly, with the next meeting scheduled for just next week on Tuesday, December 12th from 4 until 5 p.m. and starting next year on Tuesday, January 16th. In addition, we still have our weekly outpatient groups for BIPOC, SAGE, and college students. So if you are looking for more support and you're part of one of these populations, we really encourage you to reach out to 1-800-RENFREW to learn more about the opportunities in the groups themselves. Any event or any other events that we have coming up, you can find at renfrewcenter.com under the events page. You can filter it also specifically for alumni events. So you're seeing what the alumni services team is working on. And as always, if you feel like you need more support at this time or in the future, please give us a call at 1-800-RENFREW if you're interested in kind of learning more, seeing what other support we could give you. So following the webinar, we would love your feedback. Everyone will receive an evaluation form via email that's easily completed online. This evaluation form is really helpful for the alumni services team because it helps us with developing new and innovative programs and different ways that we can assist you in recovery. So it's very helpful if you can take just a few minutes to complete that evaluation form. We'll be doing question and answers at the end of the presentation. You can submit questions at any time during the webinar, typing them into the chat function or the Q&A function. Just make sure that they're going to all panelists and not to everyone, so that your questions are just going to us, and we can get to them at the end of the presentation. I would like to now introduce you all to today's presenter, Susan Kleiman, MA, BC, DMT, NCC, CEDSC, is a creative arts therapy supervisor and dance movement therapist for the Renfrew Center of Florida. Susan is a trustee of the Marion Chase Foundation, past president of the American Dance Therapy Association, and past chair of the National Coalition for Creative Art Therapies. She has published extensively, presented widely, and is the recipient of the American Dance Therapy Association's 2013 Lifetime Achievement Award and the 2014 Spirit of IADEP Award. Her work is featured in the documentary entitled Expressing Disorder: Journey to Recovery. So I will now turn it over to Susan to proceed with today's presentation.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to know that you all are on the other side of the presentation. And I look forward to sharing some thoughts and feelings with you today. Hannah, you want to, there we go. So we're going to inspire ourselves today. I like to always hope that when we work together, you feel some inspiration. So today we're going to explore reaching inward inside of ourselves to connect with that interoceptive or inner sense of well-being that I know exists in all of us. But sometimes when you might be suffering, feeling overwhelmed, it's hard to locate it. Right? So I think the first thing that needs to happen is that we create, or that you create, a soothing, safe space where you can let go of pressure and relax. And I like to encourage people to do that at home. So I put together these questions to kind of get your mind thinking a little bit about how safe your space is that you're in right now, and what you would like to have as a safe space. So I'm going to invite you to choose a particular space in your life where you can go to identify what it looks like to you, so that you can find it when you need it, and see if you can identify what it feels like inside of you when you go into that space. So when you're in it, I wonder what you do feel. Do you feel warmer? Do you feel colder? Do you feel more tense? Do you feel your shoulders and neck relax? What do you feel when you're in that space? Can you breathe more easily? Do you tend to hold your breath when you're having a difficult moment or a difficult time? So we're looking at why you choose a particular space. What is it about it? When you're in it, what you do feel? And what is it that makes this particular space uniquely yours and contributes to you feeling safe and soothed? I can tell you for myself that I like a space that's not too closed in. I like to have a fan going to circulate air so that I can feel I can take a breath more easily. I like to have sometimes toys nearby that I can fidget with or hold on to, maybe a pen or maybe a ball, a koosh ball. Those of you who've worked with me know that I almost always have a koosh ball that we can at least create settling into a safe space with. What is it for you? Is it colors in a room that make it safer? Is it a fan? Is it having the heat on in that space? Is it having doors open or a window open? Is it having a small space where nobody can see in? There are no wrong answers here. Whatever you choose for your safe, soothing space, whatever you feel when you are in it, whatever makes it uniquely yours is what makes it special. So as we move along in the webinar, we're going to explore some of that and how that takes shape today. Hannah? I'd like to tell you the story of Wren and Fru. Some of you know Wren and Fru, and I hope you're snapping your fingers right now or clapping your hands. This picture shows two teddy bears that are just adorable. They're patiently waiting to be admitted, or maybe not so patiently waiting. Wren and Fru were given to me by a friend who received them when she was sick. And after she got home from the hospital, she began to plan to move to another place, and she felt that she couldn't take Wren and Fru with her. So she asked me if I wanted them, and I said, oh yes. And some of you on the call today will remember Wren and Fru coming in. We gave them badges. You may see in the either Wren or Fru. I never remember which is which. It's kind of like twins, but one of them has red on their chest. That's the bottom of their badge that they continue to wear to this day. And inside at least one of the badges Yes, I see you, and I call you Charlotte. The person I call Charlotte left a message for Ren or Fru, and I just discovered it when Charlotte told me about that the other day, and I wrote her and said that yes, that message is securely there, and I told the other patients about it that are now in the day room every day, and they were really excited to find that message. If there was one in the other bear, I didn't find that yet, but maybe if Charlotte wants to send me a message, I'll put it in there for sure. Or if you all want to send a message to Ren or Fru, I would be glad to insert it in their badge so that they can feel less lonely. So here they are on day one, waiting to be admitted. I don't think they look particularly comfortable. Do you? What do you think they're feeling? And what do you think they need at this moment when they're being admitted? I think they're probably very frightened and uncertain. Kind of scared stiff comes to mind for me. Well, let's see what happens in the next slide. There they are. They're feeling safe enough and comfortable enough to stand together. They have each other, and they're getting adjusted. Oh, and the message is, show us again, Charlotte, what that message said. Oh, I can't remember at this point. But you know what? Sometimes it's the thought that counts. And to be carrying a message of love or acceptance or awareness that you are a valuable person or validation of who you are, that's what the most important thing is. So here are these two. They have each other. Do you remember your first day in treatment and how scary it was to walk across the threshold and to meet other people? Some of whom wanted to talk with you and wanted you to share more than you were comfortable sharing. Some who were very compassionate and accepting and just said, follow me. It's going to be okay. All of these things are so important, I think, in validating a person and kind of opening up to allow the person to be the way they are, to feel safe enough to take the risk to be here. And I know somebody else had sent in a message that if you could send it again, I'll see it and can respond to it too. Or Hannah will help me with that later. So aren't they adorable? We did a group, and actually Charlotte and another patient led the group where we painted their clothing, their t-shirts. You can see the design on one of them right there. But we painted their t-shirts. Your feelings are valid. Thank you. Your feelings are valid, and I am here. Whoa. That kind of makes my heart go pitter-patter and me feel safer also knowing when you feel that way. So here they are. We today are still remembering them, and it will always be a part of the treatment you had here and also what's important to you. I think one of them has braids in her hair or something. I think a lot happened after you dress them in these special outfits. And I think one of their badges is beaded. You really fixed them up so they felt special. Let's move on and see what next. Ah, yes. Here are Ren and Fru. Can you see them here? Ren and Fru are at the ends of the line. Oh my goodness, I love them with the friends. They are all here with their friends. And I think my Serta is there too. I'm not sure where she is. I'll put my glasses on. Maybe I can see her. I'm not sure who she's next to, but she sure is happy being there. On Saturdays, I started doing a dance movement therapy group in the day room so that every person could be a part of it. And one day somebody brought a stuffed animal. And as we were going around and sharing with each other, someone threw the koosh ball to one of the patients who let her stuffed animal catch it and then responded as to how she felt. So I said, "What is the name of your friend?" And she said, Pepto-Bismol is their name. And so I began to learn the names. We all began to learn the names of these friends. And they would participate with us every Saturday. And they would say things like they liked to hang out with their other friends, and they were always ready to assist their caregiver in helping them feel safer. I would have them then find a space to watch from. Like on this day when we did this photo shoot, they watched from up there. And then at the end of the group, we bring them down, and anybody who wanted to could share anything that their friend wanted to say about the group. Sometimes they'd even say things like, "I didn't like the group today. I didn't like what happened." And I'm thinking that maybe it was easier for their friend to say that than it would have been for them to say that. So I really like that, that they could do that. And one time, one of the friends ended up in the middle of the group, and we were all on the outside of the group. And as I leaned in to give that friend a koosh ball to use in their back to support them, the person, the caregiver said, "Don't touch her," or "Don't touch them." And I said, "Okay, I won't, but do they need support?" And the person on the outside side said, "Yes." And I said, "Can I put my koosh ball there then to support them?" And we built the whole group around the need for support and the fear of being touched. I really like all of these friends. They have all been very helpful. Oh, you can't see my face when I lean forward? I'm in a chair that's not high enough for me, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, so here we are with another caregiver and another friend. The caregiver is mom-like, and the friend is a baby, maybe 6 or 8 months old. I wanted to use this photograph of what I think is important in a relationship. This baby is being held by the dad, and the dad and the mom are one as they connect with this baby. And I wanted to say that I know that although I'm a dance movement therapist, a lot of people we see here are uncomfortable with the word dance. So that's why I wanted to use this definition to show you how important I think it is. I'm going to read it to you. We are all dancers. We use movement to express ourselves, our hungers, pains, angers, joys, confusions, long before we use words. And we understand the meaning of movements long before we understand those of words. If you're with me on this, just shake your head yes. I won't see you, but I will feel your presence. the person Franklin Stevens. Charlotte says, this is her favorite quote: "The body says what words cannot," is a really important quote too by Martha Graham. And there was one person here who used to always say that at the beginning of a group to help explain about dance and dance movement therapy. And one day she said, "I can't remember if it's Martha Stewart or Martha Graham who said that." And we would all laugh. Sometimes we don't know who the author is of something, and sometimes we're the author of it. But whatever it is, it's always important. Franklin Stevens was a reporter many, many, many years ago, maybe 100 years ago. You can look him up and see who he was. I've never seen too much written about him, but I sure do like his quote. And I do believe that one of the most important things that you can do is to help yourself feel safe enough to be who you are and to do what you need to do. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. It's a cute one too. All right, nothing happens till something moves. Of course, that's Albert Einstein. But can you see that little baby who's the same baby, but she's now a little older and she is walking and she is trying to move that chair? Nothing happens till something moves. We all knew that early on in life, but sometimes because of the disorder, people get scared to move and scared to be free enough to move and kind of scared stiff. And they freeze up and they numb their bodies and they stop feeling in their bodies. So our job is to make it safe enough to begin to reconnect. So in the next slide, you're going to see that same little girl sitting there. There she is. You see her? See what she's doing? She's playing with her teddy bears and her stuffed animals, and she's feeding them. I wonder if that one card says 11 for being 11 months old. That's a possibility. So the quote here says, "Our feelings are reflected by the experiences of living in our body, how we express ourselves, and in the big picture of our lives. What the feelings mean to us, essentially, we give form to our feelings through our actions." So this little girl's giving form to her feelings through her play with her toys. And sometimes in treatment, you give form to your symptoms when it's not safe enough to give form to or express the feelings that live inside of you. So again, going back to feeling safe enough to be able to feel, to express, and to understand is all a really important part of treatment. And right now you can only see the top of me. I'm like a talking head. But if I stand up, you can see there's more of me. And I even have hands and arms, and I can reach out. I can reach out for you, and I can take actions that I couldn't take if all you saw of me was only my head. And even if all you saw of me was the top of my head or my eyes, how often do some of you perhaps wear clothes that are layers deep, that don't allow the you of you to show? Or how often do you cover yourself with scarves and hats and sweaters and curl up under blankets as a way of hiding who you are? And the thing is, we can never hide ourselves from ourselves. That's quite a burden that someone with an eating disorders and with trauma that has been difficult to live with find themselves doing, and detaching in their bodies, and make it and find it difficult to feel safe enough to open up, even a little bit to open up. And if we go back to the picture of Ren and Fru in the very beginning, they were just sitting there waiting. And when you're just waiting for something and not sure where you are, if it's safe enough and that kind of thing, this is all the more reason we need safe spaces. And sometimes we're not home. Sometimes we might be at school or shopping in a mall or at a party, and feel that social anxiety, and to even be able to recognize, if I just can help myself find a safer space, I think I'll be more okay. So to look for that some safe space, maybe it's leaning against a wall, maybe it's in a corner, maybe it's where you can see everybody come and go. It's all okay. See if you can go to that space so that you can take the next step and maybe begin to interact with some of the people, or lift your head and be able to see them, or anything that you would like to happen. Maybe breathe more freely. All of that can help you begin to feel safer and take more risks to enjoy more life. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, there they are. Look at Ren and Fru. And those of you who have been here know full well that people lean against one of them or another. I found one upside down the other day. I found one sitting up on that ledge. They all had pictures taken in. And I asked what was going on. I found a stuffed animal in somebody's mailbox one day. So sometimes unconsciously, we may move blankets, people, ourselves to certain spaces to help ourselves feel safer. So I'm going to say that the one with the yellowish color is Ren, and the one with the cocoa color is Fru. So Ren looks like Ren may have been cold or maybe scared. I don't know which. And all curled up in somebody's blanket. And Fru is kind of in the open, waiting for something to happen. So since I'm going to do a special soothing session with you, I'm going to ask you to curl up as much as you can, to feel as safe as you can. I know in the space I'm in, I either have to sit up straight, or I can't find the safest space for myself. So I kind of have to adjust a little bit. So in order to be a part of the webinar, you may have to adjust a little bit too, but make sure you feel safe enough. Do you need something in your hands? That's okay. Do you want to curl up in your body? That's okay too. Any way you want to be is okay. I found something. I had to come to somebody else's office because my camera wouldn't work, but I brought two pieces with me here. I'm not going to use both of them completely, but I wanted to say a few things about them. This one I always used to read at the Ren-Fru reunion when it was in person. Does anybody out there miss that? When we could actually see each other and work with each other? I miss that. So I'm going to read to you what this says. It says, there's always a place to start if you still have a heartbeat and you still have a heart. So I want everybody to touch their heart or their pulse, to feel the heartbeat, to feel the pulse beat, to know that that is where we're starting, in your heart, with your heartbeat, or with your pulse beat, even the beat in your neck. There's always a place to start. So take a big deep breath in and a big deep breath out. And let's take one hand and put it on your heart. Somebody just wrote and said, yes, they do miss the live reunion. You went to one 9 years ago. Well, me too. I've never missed them. And I really loved being able to be in person with you all again. Maybe we can write that down as a suggestion, and maybe we can begin to do that again. So that might make your heart beat faster. And this person is saying that they performed virtual as someone who can't travel right now. Yeah. So sometimes when we pack things to take in our luggage with us for traveling. But when we get home, we unpack them. So and if I go to a conference or something, I take my stuff with me and I unpack it in the hotel room so that I can have it with me. And here's somebody who travels from Oregon. Wow. And I bet you traveled from Oregon to come to a reunion or to go somewhere that was important for you and that you felt safe enough to take the risk to go to. So we all feel those feelings in our heart, not in our head, in our heart. But as we reflect on what we connect, those memories of traveling, the memories when you opened up and maybe cried or laughed, as we reflect on that, this is what this old message from the reunion says. As I reflect on my connections, my heart swells with joy as soulful messages wash over my being, reaching inward to stir the forces that revive my spirit. As the year goes by, each time I touch my heart, I will remember the messages that warmed my soul today. How important is that? To have memories where you felt safe enough, where you felt inspired or motivated to maybe even dance, or maybe write a poem or draw something, even if you don't feel that you are an artist. Personally, I think we're all artists, and the art of what works for you is what's really important. So let's put our hand out again, stretch one hand out, and then the other one out. And then bring it back and bring it back. And yes, I will, from one person. I'm going to share that poem again. And if you want a whole copy of it, I'll bet we can get Hannah to send it to her. If I send it to her, then she can send it to you. There's always a place to start if you still have a heartbeat and you still have a heart. As I reflect on my connections, my heart swells with joy as soulful messages wash over my being, reaching upward to stir the force that revives my spirit. As the year goes by, each time I touch my heart, I will remember the messages that warmed my soul today. So as you place both hands on your heart, see what you are remembering from today. And then let one hand reach out in front of you, and then the other hand as if to reach for something. and let one hand connect with something and the other hand join the first hand to hold on to something on your heart. I just got a question about other creative arts therapists reaching out. Could you put that up again so that I can see that?
Susan, they asked how other creative art therapies have come up in your research and sessions.
Well, I'll tell you, my best researchers are those of you I work with. And when I can connect with you, that's why I add or intervene in any way I do. And someone asked me that at Thanksgiving time also, because they thought that's really important. I think it's important to any relationship. And so when I look at other fields, it's mostly to enjoy what they're doing and to maybe learn from them in some way that I can digest. But I really find that my learning comes from you and from what is called kinesthetic awareness, the awareness to be in our bodies, to feel, to express, to get in tune with ourselves and to attune to ourselves and to connect with ourselves and with others in an empathic way. So actually the exercise, what you might call an exercise of reaching out for something, reaching out again with the other hand, bringing one hand back to your heart and the other hand to cover your heart with both of your hands, I think is what we're talking about. And I have a couple of other quotes here, not by other creative arts therapists, but here's one by Carl Jung, who was a famous psychiatrist and disciple of Freud. Most of us have heard of Freud. And Jung said he believed in something called active imagination. So I always think of that in terms of activating our imagination. And when we can do that, the whole world opens up to us. Just like I noticed, I looked around my office and I noticed the special essay about the heart. And I thought, I'm going to bring that over with me. I might want to use that. But then how I use that to access my own feelings and to tune into yours is what's important to me. So here's what Jung said. He said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. And I think that addresses the very issues we're talking about. And then, of course, there's always Albert Einstein again. Nothing happens until something moves. When you want to walk from one space to another, but your body freezes, you can't achieve that goal and you can't get to where you want to get to. So your body and your mind have to work together in synchrony to get that to happen. And it looks like somebody is wanting to talk to all the panelists. I guess I'm not sure how to do that. So somebody else may know. But, and then go ahead and respond. And then here's the one that person in my group always remembered, but she couldn't remember if it was Martha Graham or Martha Graham or Martha Stewart who said it. Movement never lies. That means our movements never lie. Our feelings never lie. Movement never lies. It is a barometer telling the state of the soul's weather to all who can read it. So I think it takes patience to look inward, to feel inward, to recognize what our body is telling us, maybe through a gesture, maybe through holding our breath, or maybe through leaning back, or maybe through leaning forward, or count the ways. Your body speaks to you, our bodies speak to us, and when we listen, magical things can happen. A lot of times in dance therapy, you tell me that what happens is magical. And I agree, because I feel it with you as much as that is humanly possible. And when I trust what I feel and move in that direction, then doors open and feelings are accessed. And a lot of times awareness increases. You can even do something like taking hold of a doorknob as if to turn it and just turning it a little bit and then stopping. And close your eyes and move toward that doorknob with your hand. And again, turn the doorknob in your imagination, in your movement, and turn it back and bring your hand back to you. See if you can identify what you're feeling, how whatever you discovered may connect in your life and what that means to you, and how that might be a pattern that you might explore further, because it has to do with your process of exploring what you feel, seeing what you discover, acknowledging it's true, even if you don't know why, and then connecting the meaning of it with one time when you felt that way in your life. And you can keep on doing that and identify a pattern that then you can bring up to your head and explore further in therapy by recording your voice and listening to what you say, through your artwork, by journaling, by scribbling on paper, by sewing, by going for a walk and seeing what you notice, anything at all. So I'm going to ask you to take a breath now, in and a breath out. And again, in and again, out. One more time, in and out. And if you feel okay, safe enough to lift your hands above your head, anytime when you can't get a good breath, that will help your chest, your torso open up, help you breathe more deeply. Take a breath as if you're reaching for something. Bring it back to your heart and let it rest there. Do I have any more slides, Hannah? I do. George Bernard Shaw, the playwright, said, "Remember, imagination is the beginning of creation. You imagine what you desire. You will what you imagine. And at last, you create what you will." Thank you all for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again. I guess this is when we ask questions
It is,
and
Susan. It
provide
is.
answers.
Yes. So, Susan, we wanted to start off, you talked a lot about kind of creating that safe space for ourselves.
Yeah.
Any tips for like what can help us understand what's a safe space for us or how to create that like in our home or just in our sense of being?
Okay, and I see there's a question also about the doorknob and the
Yeah.
analogy and how to use it. Um, I think we know when a space feels safe or doesn't, through our interoceptive experiences. Sometimes we get scared by them though, and then we just want to run from them, or isolate, or use an EDB. So the challenge is to risk staying with them, to open that door. So as I think the person was asking, I just made up that analogy because metaphors and analogies are just wonderful and they speak to what's going on in a way that is creative and imaginative. Oh, an EDB is an emotionally driven behavior. I believe an eating disorder is an EDB, an emotionally driven behavior. And when you feel overwhelmed, that's what you turn to for assistance or to feel soothed or to feel safer. But it's in disguise. It's really not going to help in the long run. So if we can feel safe enough with someone, even with a pet, you have a pet at home, even a goldfish, you can watch how a goldfish moves or flows through the water, or how a spider. Charlotte used to watch the spiders and the spider in the web and how the spider moves through its web. All of that can help you. Count on your imagination as a positive that might help. Oh, Charlotte, I miss him so much. Until, oh no, Marco did away with him. Marco works here and takes care of all the things outside, the bugs and the animals, the wild animals, and some of whom like to live in the garden, the woodpeckers. And he doesn't get rid of them all, but he's the one who's in charge of that. Does that make sense? Does that answer the questions?
Yeah, I think it does. Susan, what techniques would you use when it's just hard to feel safe even in our own body? How do we kind of work on that? Because so much of, the safety is, well, do I feel safe even just with myself?
Yeah, oftentimes when I work with somebody individually and I'm not sure, I ask them to verbalize or to move to the safest space in the room so that they can just trust that. And I kind of help them do that and then ask them where they want me to be. So this is just a dog example, but when I first met my dog, Sandy, she was scared she was a rescue. She was scared for anybody to walk directly toward her. So I just sensed that I needed to walk around the side and then it was safer for her. So we're talking about our most basic responses that we have, and we may even discount or blame ourselves for if we feel scared or something. But those are the things I want to understand, because if you can act like a detective, then you can solve these mysteries and you can see what you need. So Sandy couldn't speak words to me, but she could respond to me. And so she responded through her response to me that she felt safe enough. So I know from experience that it's a lot of times people feel safer in corners or in a room where they can see everybody coming and going or anybody coming and going. or that kind of thing. So I look for those clues or cues. If you want to be a detective, you don't have to be a patient anymore. You can be a detective, and I empower you to do that.
Yeah, I like that idea of, it goes hand in hand with having the safe space that, like when we don't feel safe necessarily in our body, how can we make ourselves physically feel safer? And having, like you said, that investigative kind of lens of what feels better to me and working on that.
Yes, and a lot of times somebody might say, yes, somebody might say that they might not be able to say it, but they might show it by moving back, say, or by pulling inward, or by tensing the muscles in their face. And of course, Charlotte just reminded me, of course, music is wonderful. The music I like to use to help people feel safer is mostly in the new age category. Mostly it's 60 beats a minute or less. And it kind of helps you slow down. And if it's a little faster, that's okay too. Like sometimes, when you're fiddling and shaking your hands or your legs, I had somebody the other day begin to do that movement half time. So instead of doing it full time, do it half time, and then half of that, and then half of that, until it slows down to a speed that's more in flow. Somebody like Yanni has an album I like. It's called In My Time or In Your Time. Most people here will remember Enya music because it kind of pulls to their spirit, and they feel moved and inspired by it. So anything that works for you, I like to add my own words. So words sometimes get in the way for me of what's going on. You might even notice when words get in the way for you of you expressing yourself. And so sometimes when someone says, well, what are you feeling right now? And you have no words for it, if we just look, then we can see what it seems like you're feeling, and you can validate that.
Yeah, being able to pick up on those other ways. Like you said, we communicate with our body. It's not just.
Yes. I think that something like 80% of communication is nonverbal. I don't have a particular playlist, but I can tell you it's Yanni, In My Time. It's a piece called Pure Relaxation, which is in like a 3/4 time or 4/4 time. Music that has a steady rhythm, doesn't have highs and lows. Music that sounds that can inspire you. For some people, a colored wheel helps them to identify feelings. My preference is to just look inside to see what you are feeling, because I really don't know about the color wheel, or the feeling wheel, although I think it is helpful for some people. And music by Arvo Pärt. Oh, I'm going to look for that. ARVOPART. PART. That sounds interesting. Sometimes someone will bring in a piece of music and then we can try it out. But the slow music without highs and lows, because then people get scared about all of that happening, too much happening, are helpful. Arvo Pärt and Enya and Pure Relaxation. I don't know who wrote that. I've had it for like 15 years. Another one, especially kids like, is Steamboat's Steamboat's steam, what's his name? Steamroller that meets the mouse. I can't think of his first name.
Oh, I don't know.
He's the musician, plays semi-classical music. Mannheim, thank you. Mannheim Steamroller meets the mouse. It's all Disney music disguised. And people say, oh, that sounds familiar. What is this? And it's Mary Poppins, and at the end is a lullaby, the Mickey Mouse lullaby. Yeah, that's anything that moves you. Some people like Pachelbel. I have mixed feelings about it because it's so familiar that it makes people think of certain events like graduation or something like that might hold more stress. But anything that you find in your heart that helps you is, oh, put that up again, Charlotte. It is helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really doing that individualized work of like figuring out for you what it is.
Pachelbel, yes. So Charlotte actually loved Pachelbel. Now look at this little girl in the picture. She would probably like to move that to music, and she probably makes sounds. She probably can't really talk yet, but she makes sounds and rhythm, and this is where it all begins. She began to move when she was in her mom's womb, and she moved on the way out to being born, and we all need that. We all need movement in our life. Feeling safe enough is important. I'll make sure, Hannah, let's make sure that we can get a copy of the poem that was our Renfrew closure. I'll send that to you later today. And then if that can be sent out to people, that would be wonderful.
Yes, if anyone would like a copy of the poem, please email alumni@renfrewcenter.com and we can get that out to you. And then Susan, just one last question, because I realize we're coming to the end here. Like, what do we do when we find it challenging to find comfort in recovery because we've had the comfort of the eating disorder for so long? Like, how do you suggest finding comfort in recovery?
I think being open to it, using that doorknob to open that door is a start. And I think here, of course, we offer art therapy, journaling, really recommend journaling, drawing, shaping, sculpting, playing music, singing. Singing is just a wonderful way to feel less anxious. You can always sing in the shower, and hopefully nobody will be listening, and you can take the risk to sing any way you want. Being open to the creative arts is really important. And here I get to work with people individually also. So that's always very exciting to see their body and their mind working as a unit. So I think being open to turning that doorknob and to stepping inside, it could be reading. It could be publishing. It could be writing. It could be anything that moves you. It could be painting furniture or sewing or something you used to do that you stopped. A lot of times people make bracelets. Mm-hmm. And giving them to somebody then takes the bracelet to the next level because you're interacting with somebody. So you name it, and it's pretty much okay.
Yeah. So again, that idea, like exploring what are the things that I feel that sense of comfort in, and like with those different activities or ideas or expressions, working those into kind of more of a daily practice in some way.
Yes. When I wake up in the morning, I usually do a little bit of movement, at least stretching and moving my body from side to side and breathing, and it kind of helps with the stiffness. and it makes me more ready to start the day. I don't look on that as real exercise. You are welcome for the person who just wrote in that they have to leave. But just a warm up, just kind of warm up for the day using lotion. Using lotion is wonderful. You are welcome to everybody who was here. And thank
Yes.
you for staying
And
for the whole
Susan,
time too.
thank you so much for presenting on this topic. I know it's something, especially, headed into the holiday season and then the new year, like we're thinking about our overall well-being and being able to take the time to do some of that more reflective work and look inwards, like you said. So on behalf of Alumni Services, I want to thank you for presenting and thank everyone for attending today. Thank you all so much. Have a good rest of the day and hope to see you in the new year.